Hi peeps, it's Tersse back in the squat box once again. And after what's happened today in politics, both in the UK and America, I really feel despondent about our political systems. I don't believe anymore that there's any proper left-wing parties in the British government, and I don't believe there's any left-wing parties in the American government. There's nobody, standing up to a camera in Britain who would actually put forward any left-wing socialist, capitalist sort of views the way I have them in the whole British politics. There's maybe some in Scotland, but that's not mainstream, that's simply in Scotland. But and I'm talking about mainstream, mainline British politics. There's just none. There's no social capitalists left. They're gone, they're done. And they're all central right wing, they're all central conservative. And the same in America. I mean, I even now believe, after all the bullshit I thought I believed about Obama, that Obama is actually a centrist Republican. He's not a Democrat at all. And I believe that about 30–40% of your Democratic, politicians are actually centrist Republicans. They don't have a left-wing or progressive agenda whatsoever. They don't see politics anymore as a left and right. They believe that the only way to be elected is to be right-wing, maybe central right-wing, populist centralist right-wing, but they no longer see any need to champion the socialist agenda for the people that they are supposed to be representing. I am just so despondent after the shit that happened today, especially in America. The total bullshit of swapping money in order to keep planes flying for the short term, so that, well, basically, let's face it, it's so that politicians can get back to their home states, and yet cancer patients, poor children, pensioners who depend on meals and meals. Yeah, there's no need to deal with any of that. We can allow that disaster to happen to those millions of people, but we just can't do anything to interfere with the special relationship that the Congress has with money, the special relationship they have with getting home and getting to work. It's fucked-hearted. You have a retarded political system, both in the UK and in the United States. And in many of our Western nations, it's going the same way. More and more right-wing, more and more corporatist, more and more Ayn Rand, more and more the people don't really matter, because all we need is their votes, and then we can just do what we want once we get power, because the power is the main thing. It's hard to even put forward a vision, a view of what should be going on, what should be happening with our political system. Because there's just so few people understand the consequences of what's happened over the last 20, 30 years in our societies, with this gradual dragging to the right. We see the deterioration of our societies, we see the deterioration of the communities we live in, and we're forced to think it's because of all these people who want stuff, it's all these people who don't want to be educated, it's all these people who won't do as they're told. And therefore we've got to force them by the rule of law, force them by taking away their rights, force them by beating them into submission. There's no softness anymore in our politics. There's no understanding left in our society. We continuously are being dragged to the point where we have to force people into the view that we hold, rather than maybe reassess the view that we hold and whether it's right or wrong. People will not sit down and actually look at the past and see that every single time we change a rule or a law that takes rights away from people, that empowers the powerful and unempowers the weak, every decision we make that progresses along that line is making our societies worse. And if only some people would realise that in power, if only the people who vote for these people would realise that they are not the people who should be voted for, and that we need to try and drag it back in the other direction, to be more social, more inclusive, a more friendly society. A society that understands that there's some people who just aren't capable of being as hard and tough and rotten, basically, as the people that we now have running it, We've been basically brainwashed into thinking that strong and powerful is the way to go. Meek and mild is what we all think is the message that Christianity brought us. The meek won't help the earth, blah blah blah, And yet we're continuously bombarded with this notion that you need strong, powerful leaders who make decisions, and even if they're wrong, they at least made a decision, And making a decision, even if it's wrong, is better than taking time to make a decision that's right. And I just think we're lost, man. We're lost, falling down a dark pit, And nobody even feels the need to reach out and try and grab onto a rope that's hanging from the wall and stop that descent, and maybe gradually claw our way back out of this horrible darkness we're falling into. That's what I see. The Western world is falling into darkness, man. We're falling into a pit that we might never be able to dig ourselves out of. Nobody seems bothered about it. Maybe I'm just in a mood, I don't know, but fuck's sake, man. If we will push millions of kids into starvation, if we will push our aged, our pensioners into starvation, if we will refuse education to the future of our nations, so we can give tax cuts to the already more than wealthy, people who have money they could never spend in lifetimes. I just know I just don't know what to say about it, man. I'm lost for words to express how fucked I think we are, you know? I feel they're all just a sad and depressing place at the moment, and I don't see any way of ever again having any optimism about the future of man, the future of our Western civilization. It is fucking depressing me, man. Fucking depressing me. So aren't you fucking bad?